Hi, everyone. Happy 2025. I hope you're having a really good start to the year. I know it was a little slow for me. I was sick at the end of the year for the last 2 weeks, and there was a lot of icky stuff going around. And I think that it's kind of normal for me. Like it's like getting to the end of the year and just needing the rest. But anyways, being Vietnamese, I focus more on the lunar calendar, and that changes January 29th. So I'm really excited for that. And I'll tell you how we'll all celebrate the year of the snake at the end of the season. Um, but I wanted to do this topic today because when you think about how many people start their year with the goal of finding the love that they always wanted, this is the perfect time to ensure that you're presenting yourself in a way that attracts the people who are most likely to be aligned with you. And we've talked a lot in this group about on the live sessions about how to get your mindset into that ideal space. So I want to start like putting this into action. So, first of all, for anyone who's new here, I'm Caroline, and I'm a former White Glove matchmaker turned certified NLP and life coach, and I specialize in helping daters manage burnout because dating, discouragement, and burnout is the part of the journey that makes so many people want to give up. So, from working one on one with hundreds of daters over the years, I've learned that having the right tools to manage discouragement, it not only keeps you aligned with your goals, but it also empowers you to pull yourself out of tough times before you spiral and give up on a dream. So that's why I do what I do instead of helping you break apart each date and talk about what happened or parse out text messages, which I said earlier in the week. Like, I have some of those on my Substack. I have some of those resources. Like, you can have those. But I think that if you build your toolkit correctly, you won't need them because you'll have attracted the right person. And when it is the right person, it's very hard to do the wrong thing. So here's the heart of what I believe: there is no such thing as soulmates. But I do believe there is an ideal relationship, which is a dynamic that works for you as you authentically are. And so the work I do is about helping you stay on the path to creating the future you want by focusing on your empowerment and the things that you have control over. So in this group, we'll always keep things constructive, positive, and focused on solutions. And if you're ready to shift your perspective and leave the blame game behind and build the life you deserve with the tools you have, then you're in the right place. So, um, as always, please comment, even if you're on the replay, so I know what resonates the most for you and what we can expand upon in the future. Because I want to talk about what you want to hear about around dating and your dating journey and how to stay focused on the right things and how to get your mind out of tough places, which I've been there. So I've been there different times in my life, and I felt pretty helpless at the times. And I have learned since that making sure you don't feel helpless in those times will completely keep you on the path to building the life that you're looking for, the life that you want. So, okay, let's get back to business. And I want to ask you, so have you ever found yourself asking, like, why do I keep attracting the same type of person? Or why do my relationships end the same way? So if anything sounds familiar, like you've noticed a pattern, I want you to know you're of course not alone. That's why we have the group. That's why I do what I do. But more importantly, you can change it. Um, I want to tell you a story about a client. Her name is Cassie. I met Cassie when she was 34, and had not been in a relationship for about a year. Um, and one second, because, okay, Cassie. So she was 34 when we met. She hadn't been in a relationship for about a year. And her work was really busy. She traveled a lot. She had a really cool job and she loved her career. But she also knew she wanted to meet someone special and have a family. And at her age, it was something that was really, feeling like more urgent. So her previous relationships had almost all been with men who were not really self-motivated. If they worked just to like pay bills. They didn't feel really enthusiastic about their futures. They were mostly just like marking time, which is not really how Cassie lived. Um, she ended up really being the engine in the relationship. So she would like make the plans and she'd like help keep their spirits up. And she sort of acted as like emotional regulation for whoever she was dating. And she kept trying to help them find something in their lives that made them like excited to get out of bed. Uh, Cassie deserved someone who was as passionate about life as she was, but instead she just kept attracting men who wanted her to be passionate enough for the both of them. And we've talked about like showing up and expecting the other person to like do a job for you or you being expected to do a job for them and how like that's not really a good way to show up to a relationship. Um, Cassie didn't understand why she kept attracting partners who weren't like, they weren't partners, they were projects. So once we dug into this and started examining how Cassie was expressing and presenting herself, what she thought she was most attracted to versus like what those traits in a person indicated and how she was viewing herself and what she contributes to a relationship, we were able to kind of reset her outlook and get her aligned on a path that led her to someone who was truly able to meet her where she was and who wanted the same things out of life. Okay, so I'm still a little sick. All right. Uh, what we're going to talk about today. So, I want to talk about why we attract the wrong people. Look at some of the science behind breaking those patterns, and then also what you can do now to start shifting your mindset to interrupt those patterns. And this is a lot. I'm really only scratching the surface because I don't think like live should be like 2 hours. Like everyone has a life, and it's very hard to focus on something that long. So I try very hard to keep it as close to 30 minutes or less as possible. Um, so these are all things we'll always keep kind of going back to and digging into, but let's just start here. So why do we always attract the wrong people? And like I've been there too. So anything I talk about, I've been there too. I've tried, I've worked on with clients, and this they're all things that work, and they're usually things that work on not just dating, but a lot of other things in your life. So we all we all carry patterns from past experiences. So there are things, obviously that we learn from like family, other relationships, even the media. And in my course, I talk about the role that like what the media feeds you has on what you might be thinking you want. Anyway, so these patterns often operate beneath the surface and they influence our choices without us realizing it. So if you've ever thought like, why do I keep picking people who are emotionally unavailable? Or why do all my relationships feel really one-sided? Like this is why. So every day you send out messages to people about who you are, and that means you attract people based on that. Even if you feel like who you are right now is not exactly who you want to be or how you view yourself. So, like, if deep down you ever think, like, I'm not good enough, or all the good ones are taken, those beliefs shape your energy, your thoughts, then your actions, and they just lead you to repeat the same cycles. So, like, a really personal example is that, like, my dad was really controlling, and my family of origin is really critical to others and anyone else in their eye line. And it's really this, like, expression of their own unhappiness. So when I met my future ex husband, he seemed really different than my parents, and I liked that. I thought he seemed like kind of calm and even, and um, but in the end, he was also really controlling. It just showed up differently, but it was definitely part of his personality and how he interacted with me. Like I couldn't even apply for a job without him micromanaging how I did it, even if he didn't know anything about my industry. The first the first serious relationship I had after I was divorced was also with someone who was really controlling, but again, in a totally different way. And my mind felt like this is something I understand as part of a love relationship rather than trying to strike out and like bushwhack a new path to a new dynamic, right? If my mind is a forest, I kept walking a path that had the bark over it, right? It was the well-worn path. I was somehow drawn magnetically to people who gave me that familiar feeling, and I was not thinking about what I might be paying psychologically and in like a bunch of other ways for taking like familiar routes. Um, our brains love what's familiar. It's trying to be efficient. Your brain's always trying to be efficient, right? So it's why when you get new information, you try to quickly contextualize it with what you already know. And I think I talked about this last time. It was like if you've ever met little kids who like tell you something and you're like, that actually doesn't make any sense. Well, they heard like a part of something, and then with their limited information about the world, they try to make it fit together. Um, and they come to a conclusion because they need an efficient story to contextualize the new information. They like it's hard to get new information and then just like put it in a box and like store it away. Your brain's going to, if you need to access it again, it's going to try to create the fastest route to it. It's always going to take the most familiar route. So like some examples would be like if chaos or insecurity felt normal when you were growing up or in your very first love relationship, your subconscious might seek that out in relationships. Or if you're used to someone being controlling or really passive, you will attract and gravitate towards that. But here's good news. You absolutely can rewire these patterns. This is your own brain. You can rewire this. You can make a new path. You can lay down the bark to a new path, okay? So, here's the thing to think about. Are there patterns in partners you've attracted? And what are they? It's a journaling exercise which I believe in. But even if you just think about it, right? So, if we think about the way we can change our brains to walk away, step off these familiar paths, that's based on the science of change. So, this has all been studied. Um, so, let's talk about how we can actually change these patterns. It starts with awareness, which if you sit down and think about those patterns, you're building awareness towards that, and then you move towards aligning the future version of you, so the one who's already in that relationship that you envision for your life, right? So it's a three-step process. um okay, number one, awareness, right? Recognize your current patterns and beliefs. So if beliefs shape actions, psychologists they call this the cognitive behavioral loop. So where thoughts influence feelings, feelings influence behaviors, behaviors reinforce thoughts, and then that really creates your reality. So an example path might be your belief is I'm too busy to date. then the feeling you get is that you're overwhelmed or disinterested. And then the behavior would be you don't make time to form any meaningful connections. And then your reinforcement is, well, see, I never meet anyone to date because I'm always so busy. And then it starts over because I'm too busy to date. And now I feel overwhelmed and it just starts over. So, what you want to do is called cognitive restructuring. And if you've ever done cognitive behavioral therapy, then you understand this. You've done this before. But it can really help us identify and challenge unhelpful beliefs. So, by questioning where the beliefs come from, are they based on past experiences? Are they assumptions? We can begin to rewrite the narrative. So, you want to ask yourself, what evidence do I have that this belief is true? Is there an alternative explanation or perspective that serves me better? Um, here's an example. So, if you've ever had situations where somebody says to you, like, hey, we need to talk, or, and it's just like so dreaded, like a manager. I remember a long time ago, I told my manager, hey, when you text me, like, can you chat in 5 minutes, or, can we talk this afternoon? And I don't have context, I get really, really, really anxious. And this manager had never done anything that would cause me to feel that way. They'd never done that. But I had previous managers who did that, and they were all really abusive. And they caused me a lot of work trauma. And so, even stopping to think, like, has this manager ever done anything like that to me? And knowing that they haven't, it didn't change the path my brain took when I saw that message, right? When I saw the message, hey, can you talk? I walked that path because it was the shortest path. It had the most bark on it. I was going to take that path. And it took a quite a long time of always like habitually, whenever I feel myself jump to conclusions, ask myself, what is the evidence here in this situation that would reinforce that? And if the situation or the person actually doesn't mesh with previous experience that may have caused me to feel this way, then I need to separate it out, and I need to say, okay, I'm just going to go in with an open mind. I'm not going to sit here and have anxiety and worry about what this conversation is, because um, I don't know what it is, and I don't think I did anything wrong. I don't think that anything happened here that would cause someone who has never yelled at me before to yell at me. Um, so it takes practice, but it's worth doing. So what you want to do is you want to break the patterns, right? So that's the next step. You're going to break the patterns. So emotional patterns are often tied to what neuroscientists call the default mode network, and the part of the brain that activates during self-referential thinking or rumination. So if you think like frustration, rejection, or disappointment feels familiar, because in that case, your brain might default to those emotional states because they're familiar. So these are paths you've walked in your mind many times, and it's become the fastest route to an answer for you. So breaking that pattern involves using your brain's ability to rewire itself through new experience and thought patterns. You can rewire this, right? So that's why I talk about mindfulness and journaling, but also like meditation or physical resets like walking or deep breathing can help interrupt those thought patterns, right? So think of it like the advice around managing eye strain for people like me who are looking at screens most of the day, that 20-20-20 rule, which is to take a break every 20 minutes, focus on something at least 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds. So it's interrupting what you're doing that's not helping your eyes and giving your eyes a break so they can reset before you suffer strain. So you can employ a similar technique for any cycle you want to change. So, 1 second. Okay. For example, you should have a mindfulness practice. So, mindfulness practices, I know people talk about it all the time, and you're probably like, no, but it's just so much easier to doom scroll or whatever. People keep talking about it because it's true and it works. So, it's worth giving a try because here's the thing, and here's the thing about everything I ever talk about, it can't hurt you, it might help you. So, you might as well do it, right? Can't hurt, might help. Mindfulness practices have been shown to decrease emotional reactivity, and they make it easier to process rejection without internalizing it. So that means taking a step back and allowing the feeling to like move through your body and then focusing on where you are in space. So if you've been to therapy during high stress or trauma times, your therapist may have reminded you to notice colors, light, texture, sense around you, even narrate your surroundings in your head to break the cycle of thinking that may cause you to spin out. And if you've actually ever done this and taken the time to employ this practice, it really helps you create a sense memory of that time. If you've ever been, you're at a moment where you're really happy, maybe you're, with friends or family, you're on vacation and you're looking out at a beautiful view, and we might automatically say like, let's take a photo with our camera, but you'll remember it better if you really stop to think about your body and space and just take oh take it with your mind. Take the photo with your mind. Really think about, okay, I'm sitting on this lovely chair. I'm at the beach. I'm staring out at the water. I can hear the waves. They sound like this. The water is this color. The sun is starting to set. Here are the colors. I hear these birds in the distance. And you put that picture together, you'll remember it better. And then now you've created a new path, right? Um, what Another thing that, as I mentioned with reframing rejection. So if you reframe rejection as redirection, it'll help create new neural associations. And a lot of time, well, okay, something I tell all my clients who struggle with fear of rejection, which is most people, it's like everything else we work on. And you want to take back control by remembering that just like you have a vision of what you want in your future or your ideal partner, so does that other person. So rejection is just a rejection of how you fit into their vision, right? It's not a statement about who you are as a person. It's like you're a puzzle piece they picked up and realized like doesn't fit. And that's it. It's because you're meant for a different puzzle. You're That's it, right? So, I mean, think about like any time you may have tried to fit someone into your life who was not aligned with you, or times you've tried to fit into someone's life when at the core of it, your values and lifestyle were not compatible. It just like, it doesn't work. So just try to have gratitude for those moments of trying something and recognizing it's not going to work before you waste your time. Or like my daughter says, like normalize just like getting to know someone and then realizing that like now you do, maybe it doesn't make sense. And she says this in context to friendships, you might really click with someone, you get to know them, you're enjoying it. As you get to know them, though, you start to realize there are things about the two of you that just aren't super compatible. Let's normalize like just having a discussion and saying, well, I feel like now that we've gotten to know each other a lot better, that we probably are not a good friend match. And then instead of ghosting someone or hurting people, you have a conversation and you go, yeah, I agree. And now you have mutual respect. If you run into each other, it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's just like someone at work, you might have to encounter them at work sometimes. If they're not your person, that doesn't mean you have to go out for drinks later. It's so let's reframe rejection not of you as a person, but as how you fit into somebody else's puzzle. If you incorporate these two concepts, studies have shown it will lead you to greater emotional resilience, and you'll have less fear of rejection, and it makes it a lot easier for you to like take a risk, try something new, or meet someone new, right? So next I want to remind you of something you've probably heard before, but maybe not applied to dating. Visualization is a powerful tool. It's rooted in a thing called mental rehearsal, which you've probably heard about. It's a process used by athletes, performers, even astronauts to prepare for success. So I grew up doing public speaking with 4-H and high school speech team. If you don't know what 4-H is, say so, because I'd love to tell you. Um, and I was taught starting from age 9 to practice my speech until my body knows to do something without direction and to mentally walk through my speeches. So this meant it didn't matter how nervous it was before a speech. I had built a system to carry forward. Even if my knees were shaking behind the podium, people would always say, "You look so confident." And I was like, "Oh, I was shaking the whole time." And I would imagine the judges nodding. I'd imagine getting my blue ribbon or my high score that moved me to the next round. Um, there's research published in the Journey of Journal of Experimental Psychology, and it shows that vividly imagining yourself achieving a goal activates a similar neural pathway as actually achieving it. Your body doesn't know when something is imaginary or real. That's why it's important to not dwell on bad outcomes or bad situations, because your body will then remember those feelings and not the feelings of success. So that's why I keep bringing it up. You may as well, you know, be delusional. How people say like being delulu is the salulu. Yeah, it is. You may as well walk around feeling like you already have the things you want in life, because not only will it not hurt you, it will help you. It will help you. So when you visualize your future self in like the healthy kind of like loving, supportive relationship that you envision, you start to prime your brain to seek opportunities aligned with that vision, and you align your actions to the traits and behaviors of that future version of yourself. So, for instance, like if your future self is confident, practice self affirmations daily to build that confidence now. I have lots of resources around affirmations on my website. And if you want those links, just drop resources into the chat. I'll make sure you get them. Um, if your future self is more open, more trusting, then like start taking small steps now to open up in conversations and trust others incrementally. Also, being vulnerable in a conversation when you're trying to connect with someone, and not tragically vulnerable, but it's disarming and it helps create connection faster and get to know someone more quickly. So, um, the the law of behavioral congruence, the law of behavioral congruence suggests that we're more likely to act in ways consistent with our identity. So, by embodying the traits of your future self, you reinforce the belief that you're capable of having the relationship you want, and then your actions naturally follow suit. Research consistently shows that small intentional actions compound over time. They always say like you are your habits. Each time you challenge a limiting belief or interrupt a negative pattern or act in alignment with your future self, you're not just taking action, you are rewiring your brain to support a new narrative around love and relationships. So, you can start today. You can ask yourself, what's a small action I can take today that reflects the person I want to become? Because every step matters. So, continuing on what you can do today, let's talk about 3 things you can do today to shift how you view your journey to love, to shift how you view your journey to the love that you imagine for yourself. 2 weeks sick, I did not talk to a lot of people because my throat hurt so bad. And yeah, talking is also requires practice. As I said it, and I still didn't spend a lot of time practicing. I jotted down notes, tried to organize myself. Sorry about all the stumbles. Anyway, step 1, you're going to increase your awareness through journaling. The science is in. Writing longhand makes a bigger impact on your brain than typing. And if you can write it out pen to paper when you're journaling, that's ideal. But you know what? I also like creating little videos or a voice memo, whichever works for you. But you can start by reflecting on a few prompts that are easy to start with here. Not easy, but I'm going to give them to you so it's easier for you to get started. So, what patterns do I see in my past relationships? What beliefs might be driving those patterns? And how do I want to feel in my next relationship? The next thing would be a visualization exercise, as we discussed. So, close your eyes and take a deep breath. Yes, let's all do it right now. Closing my eyes while on camera is super vulnerable to me, but we're all here to grow. So you're going to imagine yourself in that relationship that you envision for your life. Picture yourself in that healthy relationship and think about, how do you feel? How does your partner treat you? How are you showing up for yourself and your partner? Take a moment and really feel those feelings as they're happening, as you're imagining it. Walk the path to those feelings so you can access them more easily. Make those feelings familiar. Make those feelings the most efficient path your brain can take when you start thinking about where you are in dating, where you are in finding your ideal person. Okay. And then the last thing, not the last thing, but the last thing we'll talk about today is your daily rewiring practices. You've heard this a lot. I'm sure you've heard this a lot. If you've ever looked at any sort of self-help or hoping to have a mindset shift, but you hear them because they work, right? So you want to start each day by listing 3 things you're grateful for. And I like to end each day on this too, because then it's kind of my last thought as I'm falling asleep. So I have to catch myself right before I'm falling asleep, and I go through my 3 things and I feel the feelings I feel when I think about these 3 things that I'm very grateful for. And if you can tie them into qualities that you'd want in a partner, and celebrating yourself and your own life, and especially things that make you feel really good. And focus on things that make you feel good, because like sometimes I have gratitude for something and then it makes me feel kind of guilty for having gratitude for it, because it came about because of someone else's deep sacrifice, like my parents, right? I don't want to feel more guilt in my life. So I walk back from those things and I celebrate, especially things I've achieved myself through my own efforts, things that I put my mind to, I followed through, and now I have those things. And then really sit in those feelings. How good did it feel to feel so capable that you went and did that thing? And it doesn't have to be a huge thing, it can be a small thing, anything, but something that makes you feel good. So remember that resetting your approach to love, it's not about changing who you are. It's about uncovering and aligning your most authentic version of yourself to your goals. So when you do that, the right people will naturally be drawn to you. So, next steps. Okay. Sorry, I went a little long. Um, if you're ready for some one on one support, you can always book a free call with me by typing ready in the comments. Ready. And I'll take care of the rest. And together we'll just explore the best ways for you to reset your approach to your journey to love. And no matter what, you're going to get value out of the call. So, but I have two big free opportunities I want to share with you um, that I'm really excited about. So, during break, since I wasn't feeling well, I was had a lot of time to catch up on other things I wanted to do, and I've been putting together a 2 day master class. I hate that term, but that's what they're called, to help usher in the year of the snake, in a few weeks. I'm very excited about the year of the snake. It'll be focused on practical steps for getting in touch or back in touch with your most authentic self and aligning to your goals. So 2025 can be the year that you find that love that you're looking for. So that's number one. Stay tuned for that. I will get like all the information out over the coming week or so, as I'm putting it together and getting it all refined. Number two, this might sound weird, but it's an idea I've had for a while, and I just thought I'd put this out there. I am looking for a volunteer who would be open to a recorded coaching session, but you would be off camera and can remain unidentified. I just want to capture voice and the conversation, and the camera can be on me. So I've never recorded a coaching session before. Anyone who's been in a session with me knows I take a lot of notes, but I take a lot of notes because they're notes I give back to the client so they don't have to take notes, right? It's to free them up to just be present. I take care of the notes. But based on questions I've received, I think giving people a glimpse of what it can look like would be really helpful in supporting each other. And because so many people have the exact same things that they want to hear about, it might really be illuminating and help people a lot. So I would love to hear your thoughts. What patterns have you noticed in your dating life? If you want to share that, you can always share here anonymously. Remember, like that's always an option. Because I understand this is vulnerable, and I want you to feel free to talk about what you want to talk about. Um, what what would you want to hear about in the master class? If you have any ideas, any special topics you want to hear about or hear more about, drop a comment here, or I mean, you can always DM me, but like if you drop a comment here, then I get more of a consensus about what's going on because other people feel more free to share. So that is the end of the session. And I'm really grateful for those of you who came and joined live, for being here and putting some time in towards this. And for anyone who's watching later, like just follow along, put in the comments. I check all of this, so I want to hear about it. And you can always DM me, all that stuff. But that's the end of the session for today. It was a lot of stuff, and it's stuff we'll keep exploring and keep talking about. And I'll get next week's topic up at the top of the week. Okay. All right.